Welcome to the podcast. My name is AJ Richmond. I'm a criminal defense and personal injury attorney. And what I wanted to talk about on this podcast was one of the most frequently asked questions from any client, parent, boyfriend, girlfriend, mother, father, sister, brother. And it's basically the following. Will this be on my record? And this question usually shows up right after we give the best news ever. John, your case was dismissed. The prosecutor said she can't win, and they've dismissed your case. Client usually is super happy, throwing stuff in the air, we're celebrating with champagne. All is good. Then they stop and they pause. And they look at me and they say, will this be on my record? Surely it can't be on my record. The charges were dismissed. The prosecutor said she can't win. The evidence was falsified. I was actually not guilty. And my response is, well, were you arrested? Client says yes. I say, were you booked? Did they take your mugshot, your fingerprint? Client says yes. And I say, well, it's on your record. And in my line of work, most clients come and talk to me, and they call me and they meet with me after they were arrested, after they went through getting their mugshot, after they went through getting their fingerprint. And they're relying on me to, number one, make sure they don't get convicted of a crime or go to jail or go to prison, but they want me to clear their name. And the problem is, in Georgia, everything is on your record. Once you have a record, once you've been booked through a jail and given fingerprints, even if you haven't been to jail, there are city courts now, municipal courts, where they just get your fingerprints at the first court appearance. They don't make you post bond. They don't make you go to jail. And most people just submit to it. They say, well, they're going to do it anyway. Might as well do it and not have me post bond. But this is absurd. Don't do that. Well, I mean, you have to do it if the police officer's telling you to do it. But get a lawyer before you go to court, because that's going to happen. But once it's on your record, lawyers can really only do one thing to make sure nobody sees it. Restrict your record. Some of my past older clients call it expungement, but that word has changed in the past 10 years, and now it's called restriction. And what that means is we can essentially take that official record and make it restricted from public view, except for law enforcement jobs, school jobs, sometimes hospitals. There are a few exceptions, but my law firm, for example, wouldn't be able to see if a record was restricted. Your local grocery store wouldn't be able to see that. Your steel manufacturer, your garbage truck company, they wouldn't be able to see it. But a teacher, a federal job, like a post office postman, a police officer, a government official, they'll be able to see it. But what happens is we're able to tell the people in charge of your criminal history, hey, restrict this record and don't let anyone see it. And now clients say, well, how do I know that's done? So here's what you have to do. Every time you go through the criminal justice process, whether or not you win or you lose, okay, whether or not you're found guilty or not guilty, after the whole case is over, go to the local sheriff's office or the local police department and say, I want an official government background check done on me. And at that point, they're going to take your social security number, your fingerprints, and probably $20. That's what they charge. And they're going to have you sit in front of what probably will be the same machine that you originally gave your fingerprints on when you were arrested. And they're going to print out what your background looks like. And it should say, if the lawyer did it correctly, I was arrested for simple battery. The charges were dismissed or sent through pretrial diversion or some type of non-judicial function. And the record is right under it. It'll say restricted for non-criminal justice purposes, meaning nobody outside of the criminal justice land, law enforcement, should be able to see it. And if it's not there, then your lawyer or me, somebody needs to fix that for you. Now, the next question right after that is, well, it shows restricted on the form you told me to get, AJ, the official form. But I went and Googled a private background company and paid $50 for them to run a background check, and it shows charges that I was arrested for. It doesn't even show that the charges were dismissed, AJ. It says that it's still open. How do we fix that? My answer is, sir or ma'am, there are probably 300 million different private background companies that get paid to run background checks. And most of them, in my experience, do not follow up with the person's crime. So for example, the trigger in this case might be you got arrested. It automatically will send that arrest to the private company. But that private company and the dismissal might even be sent to the private company. But the private company never follows up to see, did the lawyer actually restrict the record? Did they follow up after the dismissal? Which sometimes could be a week, it could be 10 days, it could be a year, it could be 5 years. It really depends on the lawyer. And did they update their record? And most private companies, most of those mom and pop stores, or even your bigger companies that are not really publicly traded, or even the publicly traded ones, they're not having you, the employee, go to the sheriff's office, print out a background check, and bring it to them. It's just too much work. So they're going online and they're going to a website that promises to give them good information, and they're saying, I want to run John Smith's name, here's his social security number, and tell me if he has any criminal convictions or criminal arrests. And the arrest that you were found not guilty of, the arrest that you were told the prosecutor dismissed it because their witness lied to them, the case where you are absolutely not guilty, that your lawyer did everything to fix, to make sure that it won't be on your record, that charge and that arrest and that case will likely still be on that private company's website. And that's unfair. But unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it, and we would hope that an employee, once they say, hey man, you were arrested for simple battery, you say, well, it was dismissed, here's all the documentation from the lawyer. We hope that that employer says, aha, I understand, wrong place, wrong time, or you just got unlucky, which happens. But the really only way to run an official background check, like at least for me, my employees, when we run our background check, we go to the sheriff's office and we say, I need you to run this check with their fingerprints, and they'll come in and give a fingerprint. That's the real official way, because then we know what happened in this case and why did it come off his record. Now, the other part of this question that clients ask me is, all right, well, you said it's restricted, you said it's all good, it's not on my son's record. But does he have to tell his employer or his college that he was actually arrested? Answer, yes. What I did had nothing to do with saying he wasn't ever arrested, because he was arrested. I'm just here to clean up your record, to seal it, to make sure nobody can pierce through it and look at it. But you have to answer, yes, I was arrested, if they ask you that. I was arrested for a crime, but here's what happened in the case, and here's the dismissal, and here's the record restriction. And again, we hope that the school or the university or the employer says, well, thank you for being honest, and I understand that people make mistakes, and I understand the case was dismissed for whatever reason that's listed on there. But do not simply say, well, my case is off my record because my lawyer told me to, and therefore I'm going to answer I was never arrested. Do not do that. But if there's any way that I can help you fix your record, or you go to the sheriff's office and you get your background check done and you notice something's kind of funky about it, just send me an email, aj@georgiacrime.com, or find me on any social media or put a comment below. My social media handles are generally Georgia Crime on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. But I appreciate you listening to this podcast, and hopefully this is helpful. Thank you.